There are words so small, so ordinary, you barely notice them slipping out of your mouth. But the moment they do, people stop listening. They tune out, nod politely, and move on. Not because your ideas are weak, but because you made yourself sound weak, without even realizing it. The Stoics warned about this centuries ago. They said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." And part of being one is speaking like one. See, strength isn't loud. It's calm, it's controlled. It is the quiet confidence of someone who doesn't beg to be heard. They simply deserve to be. In this video, we'll uncover 6 tiny phrases that instantly drain your presence, kill your credibility, and make even smart people sound uncertain. And once you remove them, you'll speak with the calm authority of someone who cannot be ignored. Because true power isn't about adding words, it's about removing the ones that make you sound small. If you're serious about mastering yourself, not just your emotions but your language, hit subscribe and join Mr. Red Frost. We explore Stoicism the way it was meant to be lived, brutally honest, practical, and sharp enough to cut through modern noise. So, tap like, share this with someone who needs it, and let's start refining your speech, one phrase at a time. Words are not harmless. They build empires, end careers, start wars, and define how the world measures your worth. The Stoics knew this long before microphones, meetings, or motivational quotes existed. They understood something we often forget, that power begins in silence and grows through language. Because the truth is, you can have all the intelligence, discipline, and ideas in the world, but if you sound uncertain, the world will believe you are. Picture this: you're in a meeting, you've done the work. You know your idea is solid, but when you finally speak, your voice softens. I think maybe we could try. The moment those words leave your lips, you've lost the room. Not because your idea was wrong, but because you unknowingly asked permission to be heard. Confidence isn't what you say after you speak. It is what your language signals before you even start. And that's where most people lose their power, not through failure, but through phrasing. The Stoics, Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, Epictetus, all practiced restraint not just in emotion, but in expression. They didn't flood their speech with uncertainty. They chose clarity over clutter, simplicity over noise. Epictetus said, "First learn the meaning of what you say, and then speak." It wasn't advice about grammar. It was a warning. Don't speak from doubt, because once you show doubt, others will supply their certainty over yours. Every "I think," every "I feel," every "sorry to bother" chips away at your authority, word by word, tone by tone. You may think you're being polite or humble, but what you're really saying is, "Don't take me seriously." Think about it. How many times have you heard someone start with, "I might be wrong, but this might sound stupid, but..." Does that make sense? These sound harmless, even considerate. But they quietly train people to see you as unsure, hesitant, or unsteady. The Stoics would call this linguistic self-sabotage, a habit that turns strength into softness and presence into apology. Marcus Aurelius ruled one of the largest empires in history, yet his writings read like someone holding a mirror to himself. He didn't waste space defending his worth, he simply spoke it. That's what modern Stoicism misses. It's not about emotionless calm, it's about intentional communication. When your words carry purpose, you no longer chase validation. You become your own validation. You don't need to shout to sound strong. You don't need to be arrogant to command respect. You just need to remove the weak words that make your thoughts sound optional. So, ask yourself, when you speak, do you sound like someone who knows or someone who hopes to be right? Do your words land like a statement or like a suggestion? Because the world doesn't reward those who whisper their truth. It rewards those who have the courage to say it plainly. And that is where Stoic language begins. In the silence between thought and speech, where you decide whether to weaken your message or own it. There are 6 simple phrases that sound polite, modest, or considerate, but in reality, they quietly dismantle your presence. They tell the world, I don't fully believe in myself. Each one is a seed of doubt planted in the mind of whoever's listening. And once that seed takes root, your message, your point, even your confidence gets overshadowed. Let's dissect them one by one. I think, or I feel. It sounds thoughtful, right? But in conversation, those words weaken the force of your statement. I think we should do this versus we should do this. Same idea, completely different gravity. When you start with I think, you're not asserting truth. You're offering a suggestion. You're asking permission for your idea to exist. The Stoics believed clarity is power. Epictetus said, say only what you mean. So mean it. State your point like you've already done the thinking. If it's emotional truth, say, I feel sad. But if it's logic, speak from certainty. Stop making people dig through your hesitation to find your meaning. 2. This might be a dumb question, but this phrase pretends to be humble, but it's self-sabotage in disguise. You've just told everyone, don't respect me. No one takes a dumb question seriously, even when it's brilliant. Instead, own your curiosity. Say, help me understand, or walk me through this part. Those phrases show confidence in learning, not fear of looking foolish. Socrates built entire philosophies by asking questions. Never once did he start with an apology. 3. Sorry to bother you, but this one kills authority the second it's spoken. You've declared that your needs are secondary, that your presence is an inconvenience. The Stoics never apologized for existing. They valued respect, not approval. If you need something, ask for it directly. Say, could you help me with this? Or, I need this by Thursday. You're not being rude, you're being clear. Apology has its place, but not as your introduction. 4. I'm no expert, but this phrase sounds like humility, but it's really a preemptive surrender. It tells others, whatever I say next doesn't matter. You don't have to be an expert to speak with confidence. You just need to own your lane. Say, from what I've seen, or in my experience. That's not arrogance, that's presence. Even Marcus Aurelius didn't claim to know everything. He simply spoke what he did know, clearly, calmly, and without disclaimers. 5. Does that make sense? This one feels polite, but it quietly undermines your credibility. When you ask, does that make sense? You're implying that maybe it doesn't. Instead say, what questions do you have? Or, would you like me to expand on that? Those signal confidence, not insecurity. The Stoic way isn't about being right all the time. It's about speaking with enough clarity that others engage, not evaluate. 6. You're probably right, but this is the ultimate credibility killer. You were saying, I don't believe in my disagreement enough to stand behind it. If you genuinely think differently, own it. Say, I see it another way. Here's why. That's assertive, not aggressive. Remember, disagreement isn't conflict. It's courage. And courage is the heartbeat of Stoicism. 6 phrases. 6 tiny cracks in your presence. They don't just sound weak. They train others to see you as weak. Remove them, and you'll notice something strange. People start listening longer. They stop interrupting. They take your words seriously, because when your language stops apologizing for your existence, your voice finally begins to carry weight. If strength begins in the mind, then speech is where that strength becomes visible. You can't fake composure with words. They reveal what's really happening inside. The Stoics understood this perfectly. They believed speech was not just communication, it was training, a reflection of your inner discipline, your self-control, and your grip on reality. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Let your words be the barest outline of truth. To him, every sentence was a test. Could you say what needed to be said without ego, without drama, and without waste? That was Stoic mastery. Modern people chase eloquence. Stoics chased precision. They didn't want to sound smart, they wanted to sound clear. Because clarity isn't just about words, it's about presence. When you're clear, people trust you. When you're cluttered, they second-guess you. Epictetus was once a slave before becoming one of the greatest philosophers in history. He had no throne, no wealth, no influence. But when he spoke, even Roman nobles listened. Why? Because his words carried weight, not decoration. He said exactly what he meant and nothing more. That's the heart of Stoic speech, nothing more. Every unnecessary word is a distraction. Every filler phrase, maybe, I guess, you know, weakens your presence. Each one tells your listener, I'm unsure. But when you speak with calm exactness, people lean in. Not because you're louder, but because your voice carries something rare, conviction without noise. Seneca once said, speech is the index of the mind, meaning your words betray what's inside you. If you speak with hesitation, your thoughts are scattered. If you speak with control, your thoughts are aligned. That's why Stoics didn't just study logic. They practiced silence. Silence was their sharpening stone. By holding back speech, they learned how to wield it. In today's world, people speak first, think later. They fill every quiet moment with noise. But the Stoic knows silence isn't weakness, it's power in its purest form. When you're silent, you observe. You notice what others miss. And when you finally speak, every word lands like a hammer, deliberate, measured, and grounded. Stoic clarity isn't about sounding robotic or emotionless. It's about alignment, your words matching your thoughts matching your values. When that happens, your language stops being a performance. It becomes a reflection of truth, and people can feel that truth. They can sense when someone's words are anchored in something solid. That's why Stoic communication feels magnetic, calm, steady, undeniable. So the next time you're about to speak, ask yourself, is this to impress or to express? Am I talking to fill the air or to move it? The difference determines whether you sound wise or just loud. Clarity is discipline. Every time you remove an unnecessary phrase, you strengthen your presence. Every time you pause instead of rambling, you project control. And every time you say less but mean more, you walk closer to Stoic mastery. Because in the end, Stoicism isn't about winning arguments. It's about mastering yourself. And nowhere is that mastery more visible than in the words you choose and the ones you refuse to say. Knowing what not to say is half the battle. The other half is replacing weakness with strength, because removing soft language doesn't mean becoming harsh or cold. It means speaking with calm authority, the kind that doesn't need to shout to be heard. The Stoics didn't believe in empty positivity. They believed in precision. They spoke in statements, not suggestions, and when they disagreed, they did it without apology. Let's translate that into modern language. Replace I think with based on what I see. When you say I think, you sound unsure. When you say based on what I see, you sound analytical and grounded. Example, I think this approach could work. Based on what I see, this approach solves the issue. You're not just offering a thought, you're presenting a conclusion. That subtle change shifts low people hear you, from speculating to leading. 2. Replace. This might be a dumb question. With help me understand. Curiosity is strength. It shows humility without insecurity. Example. This might be a dumb question, but how does this work? Help me understand how this process fits into the plan. The first seeks validation. The second seeks knowledge. And people respect those who seek knowledge directly. Epictetus taught through questions, but never apologized for asking them. He knew that questions build understanding, and understanding builds wisdom. 3. Replace "sorry to bother you" with "can I have a moment of your time?" You're not bothering anyone, you're communicating. Apology should be used for mistakes, not for existing. Example: sorry to bother you, but could you review this? Can I have a moment of your time to review this? Same request, different presence. One sounds like you're seeking permission to exist. The other sounds like you respect their time and your own. 4. Replace "I'm no expert, but" with "in my experience." Confidence doesn't mean pretending to know everything. It means standing firm in what you do know. Example: I'm no expert, but I think this method could help. In my experience, this method helps most people. This version feels earned, not defensive. It shows ownership without ego. The Stoics never boasted about certainty. They simply spoke what they had tested through experience. That's real authority. 5. Replace "does that make sense?" with "what are your thoughts?" The first phrase asks for approval. The second invites engagement. Example: we'll start next week. Does that make sense? We'll start next week. What are your thoughts on that timeline? One makes you sound unsure. The other shows confidence and respect for the listener's perspective. It transforms the conversation from validation to collaboration. 6. Replace "you're probably right, but" with "I see it differently." Never start by surrendering your ground. If your perspective has value, present it clearly. Example: you're probably right, but I think there's another way. I see it differently. Here's another way to look at it. That's Stoic disagreement, firm, respectful, and unshaken. Marcus Aurelius often revised his beliefs, but he never diminished them while speaking. When he was wrong, he accepted correction. When he was right, he stood calmly in it. Power language isn't about dominance. It's about alignment. Your words matching your worth. When you replace weak phrases with strong ones, your tone changes, your posture changes. Even your thoughts sharpen, because your brain starts believing the clarity it speaks. And that's where Stoic mastery begins. You stop performing strength and start embodying it. There's a moment every Stoic reaches when they realize that power doesn't come from what you say, but from what you no longer need to say. When your silence speaks louder than noise, when your calm unsettles the chaotic, and when your few words land heavier than someone else's thousand, you've entered what the Stoics called presence. Marcus Aurelius never sought to impress crowds. He wrote his private meditations not to be remembered, but to remember himself, to keep his mind sharp, his ego silent, and his heart anchored in reason. He knew that words lose value when they're overused. Every unnecessary sentence dilutes your power. That's why the Stoic voice, the true Stoic voice, is measured, deliberate, and unhurried. Because real strength doesn't rush. It doesn't need to fill silence. It lets silence do the talking. When you master restraint, people start leaning in. When you pause before you speak, your words gain gravity. That pause, that brief silence, tells the world, this person thinks before they talk. And in a world addicted to noise, that's rare enough to be magnetic. The Stoics weren't minimalists for aesthetic reasons. They were minimalists because they knew excess is weakness, in possessions, in emotion, and in speech. Seneca wrote, "It is a great thing to know the season for speech and the season for silence." That's not just philosophy, that's strategy. There are moments when speaking less doesn't just protect your peace. It commands the room. So what does Stoic speech sound like in the real world? It's when you can say no without guilt, when you can say, "That's enough," without anger, when you can look someone in the eye and hold silence without flinching. Every powerful person you've ever met carries this, that Stoic stillness. It is the energy of someone who doesn't need to prove they rewrite, because their composure already proves it. That's the final layer of Stoic communication. Not words, not tone, but presence. The calmness that says, I've already won the battle inside me. There's nothing left to prove outside me. Language shapes perception, but silence reveals mastery. And when you blend the two, the clarity of speech and the confidence of silence, you become the kind of person others listen to, even when you say nothing at all. That's Stoic communication. That's the art of commanding attention without chasing it. And that is the discipline of speaking like someone who doesn't need validation, because you've already validated yourself. If this message hit you somewhere deep, if you caught yourself using some of those 6 phrases, then today's your reminder. It is time to refine your voice, because every time you open your mouth, you're not just speaking, you're branding your mind. The words you use either invite respect or erase it. The Stoics didn't aim to sound powerful. They aimed to be powerful. And that begins the moment you stop weakening your language. So starting today, no more I think, no more sorry to bother, no more does that make sense? Speak like someone who believes in what they say, and when you have nothing meaningful to add, style silent. That silence will speak louder than any filler ever could. If you found value in this, make sure to subscribe to MR Red Frost. We break down ancient Stoic wisdom for the modern warrior, so you can master yourself before the world tries to shape you. Until next time.